Good evening, Chris Lee, Max Barr, Blake Lovell of Southeastern 16. It's Thursday night. We got two SEC teams in the Elite Eight, both getting here with super impressive performances. Alabama, a 113-88 win over BYU. Florida has just knocked off Maryland by an 87-71 score. Hey, look, great performances by both teams, but let's be honest. Alabama's tonight was historic. 25 three-pointers. Mark Sears hit 10 of them. I mean, this is how good Alabama was. You could take away all of Mark Sears' three-pointers, and they still almost win the game. Hey, look, I usually kick it to Max Barr first out of custom, but this was Blake Lovell's type of game. He gets first word here.
Oh, well, now you've thrown me off. I don't know I was going first. I'm over here trying to find stats, but no, I mean, look, there's nobody in the tournament that's going to beat Alabama if they shoot like that. I mean, come on. Like, it's just nobody's going to beat them if they play like that again, because that's just incredible. You know, like Nate Oates said after the game, I guess Mark Sears was just setting everybody up. That must have been the plan. Because, what was he, 5 of 35 in his last 6 games. I think I put the stat out that took it a step further. His last 7 games, he was 9 of 44 from 3. And then he goes just completely off tonight. And so, yeah, I mean, he goes 10 of 16. And it's just like, we said coming to the game, it was interesting because we're like, we feel like Alabama's going to get their points. But you know BYU's going to score. And this was the absolute worst case scenario for BYU. They couldn't score like as much as they usually could, where they missed 10 straight threes at one point. They finished the game 6 of 30 from 3. And this is what the stat I was looking for. I've got to think that was probably their worst three-point shooting game of the season. Pretty close. They were 6 of 28 against Houston. So, yeah, I mean, it's just like, if you can't make a shot and you're a team that the entire season has been about making threes, Alabama, we said, has not shot it as well as they did last year. But you know what? They did go 22 of 45 against Mississippi State. But come on, that's not going to happen again. Are you kidding me? And then what do? They come out and go 25 of 51 for 49% from 3. What else do you say?
Historic, incredible. However, we have got to stop saying the line, Alabama better shooting team last year. Anything along those lines, it has to be thrown out. When you look at the numbers from January 1st on, they are a better shooting team this year. It's not even like they're not that much worse. They are better this year than they were last year. From January 1st on last year, 36.4%. From January 1st on this year, 37.3%, and that's rising. So it's not even like a little bit, kind of significantly better shooting team than last year. Surprised me when I looked at that during the game. But you want to be surprised, guys. You want to talk about his history. You want to talk about offensive performance. My guy, Jared Burson, I always go to him for stats. He always pumps them out right after the game. This is incredible. He put a whole thread together. Some of them are unbelievable. So 25 threes, obviously, most in a tournament game. It's also only one team ever has made more in a win over a D1 team. Just not tournament, just ever in college basketball. So that's how crazy. It was Davidson in 2017 had more than 25. Alabama is the first team in Division I history to score 100 points in 5 wins over AP ranked opponents in the same season. So there's some history. Alabama's 113 points, second most a team has ever scored in a regulation game second weekend or later. UNLV scored 131 against Loyola Marymount in 1990. Alabama is now second. Mark Sears is the first D1 player with 10 threes and 8 assists in a single game in 10 years. For my mid-major sickos out there, Iona's A.J. English back in 2015 was the last player to do it. And then Alabama's 77% of their shots tonight were from three, only took 15 twos. That is the highest rate ever. 51 3-point attempts, also the most ever. You named the offensive stat, pretty much broken now by the Tide.
Well, just to clean up some stuff in the chat, because as we know, every word matters here. It just means more, no matter what words you say. The point was not that BYU wasn't scoring points. The point was that BYU wasn't scoring points the way they usually score points. Like, this was a team that ranked in the top 30 in three-point percentage, 37.3%. They shot 20% tonight. So, like, if they were going to keep up, 88 wasn't going to do it probably. And so they scored, but, like, the level that they needed to score at was just nowhere close based on the fact that they just simply didn't get points the way they usually do. And so that was just, again, you're not going to, BYU, you name the team, they're not going to keep up with Alabama's doing that and giving them those kind of shots. And so that's just the way it works. So
Alabama shot so many threes that it forgot how to dunk at one point. Remember that one?
Yeah, there was multiple, right?
Yeah.
They only took 15
one
twos.
real quickly. Yeah.
Listen to this real quick. Last stat from me, and you'll get my nerdy stats out of here. Mark Sears, Aiden Holloway, and Chris Youngblood, first trio of D1 teammates with 5 threes each in a game in 4 years. All right. The last trio that each made 5 threes in a game, John Petty, Javon Quinierly, and Josh Primo in 2021. How do you like them apples? All right, my stats are done. Sorry.
I got one more stat. The SEC sending 3 teams to the Elite Eight. That's going to tie the record from 2017 and 86, I think. So you got 4 more games to go. So, Chris, you'll get to talk at some point, but we got too many historic stats to run down before we get there. So,
is that the league record or is that the all-time record for a conference?
Yeah, so the SEC tied its previous record.
Oh, it's okay. But
yeah.
Its record as a conference high or the record that it holds? Okay, got you. That's what I thought you meant.
Its previous high of 3 teams. The record, the Big East and the ACC both had 4. So, and that's why I said 4 more opportunities to break it. So,
yeah.
Incredible.
Florida also played a basketball game tonight.
They did.
And looked pretty good doing it.
Did we all pick Florida or did any of us pick Maryland?
No, and that's why another record, you know what? We all picked a certain team in both of these games, and I don't want to say anything, but, you know, the you-know-what is still lurking, but just we all understand where we are. So
this man's acting like he's in a press box with a no-hitter going on.
What's that?
Carry on. I said this man is acting like he's in a press box with a no-hitter going on. But carry on.
Gotta watch what you say.
Yeah, you're the one who brought it up, and
I know.
In one of those. Oh, and whoever just brought that up on the screen, you're at fault now for what James said here in the chat. We're gonna blame James if this works out. So, look, I said I thought the difference in this game, and I don't know how many radio spots I did this week. I said the exact same thing. If you listened to 2 of them, you heard me say the same sentence. I just said that I think Maryland's not seen a team like Florida in terms of the rebounding stuff, right? We brought up those stats about how, we were like, hey, look at all the Big Ten teams and where they rank, like in offensive rebounding and just those kind of marks. And we were like, Illinois and Michigan State, I think, were the only 2 teams that ranked in the top 75. Florida was 5th coming in offensive rebounding percentage. I just thought that was going to be the story of this game, and Florida grabs 15 offensive rebounds. Probably would have grabbed more if, Condon didn't miss time because he was out there early just crashing the glass. So he still finished he got a couple, I think. But, I mean, this was kind of exactly what we expected from Florida, right? I mean, I don't know that there was anything in this game that you look up at the end and just like, that was a huge surprise. It just, I thought Florida could wear them down just with the rebounding element, but also, I mean, how many times are we going to see Walter Clayton just go up, look a guy in the eye, and then just say, you know what, I don't care if I'm 32 feet away from the rim. I'm just going to shoot it over you and make it. Or he's one of the smoothest players I've ever seen. Like, this guy just is not fazed by anything, and he was incredible again tonight. But once again, like, it's just a full team effort from Florida. Well, they have 6 guys in double figures. Tommy H, I thought, played well. I mean, all the stars were out to see Tommy H tonight. Angel Reese in the crowd, probably more celebrities there. Everybody came to see Thomas Houck play basketball, and that's the way it should be. So,
yeah, that offense got in a real gear in that second half and pulled away, and you're like, yeah, good luck to you stopping these guys.
Yeah, it's easy to come on here on a reaction after we finally get a prediction right. No, we do all right, but it's easy to come on when it goes perfectly to plan and be like, told you so, but told you so. I know that Maryland was a popular underdog choice here just on the Sweet 16 slate, given how Florida was 0-2 against the spread in their first 2 games, but just never saw it with the depth, with the rebounding, the way the teams matched up. Had Florida on the points, had Florida in lays, loved Florida. It was really just the turnovers. They were beating themselves. I saw a few comments, and it was like in that second half, a few posts on social media, who's beating Florida, and a lot of them were themselves. That's who could beat them, themselves. Stopped turning it over, only 4 turnovers in the second half compared to 13 in the first, and there you go. You win by 16 points.
My head's been spinning with all the stats we've been throwing out there tonight, and excuse me if I missed it, but did you see the final rebounding stat?
Yeah, that was the game. Like, it just completely dominated them. Yeah,
dominated them, and that's how they can beat you. So many different ways to win the game. How many times have we said machine with this team? This was probably the best. That second half was probably where you just like, yeah, that's a machine right there. Just couldn't be stopped.
Yeah, I'm not sure why Maryland was such a kind of popular upset pick here. I just, like, this is one where, like you said, like, it just was one of those things where you could see such a difference in a certain area. And, like, even if we tie it into the Alabama-BYU game, right, it's just like, hey, there were some things where you're like, all right, if BYU shoots it well like they usually do, they can keep up with Alabama. We always know Alabama's capable of going off at any time. We didn't think they'd do that. But it's just like you can see certain areas. But like in this game, it just seems so clear that if Florida came out and did exactly what they usually do, especially from the rebounding standpoint, they were going to be able to have some significant advantages in this game. And I think like it reminded me, because I'm watching both games at the same time, and I had a couple. I'd mute one, go back and mute the other. Was anybody in Maryland like in foul trouble, like at any significant point in the game? It was
Reese got a flagrant late.
Yeah.
Gillespie,
so, like,
the point guard.
Gillespie's the one.
Oh, it was Gillespie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I knew it was someone, but I'm like, I was trying to remember exactly what portion and which game I was watching. But yeah, so I mean, it's those kind of things. And we said if anybody gets in foul trouble for Maryland, it completely changes the dynamic, right? They finished with 71 points. Guess how many points came from their starters? 68.
All of them?
68. Yeah. And one of their starters didn't score. And so it's like,
that's a bad game.
That's such a wild thing, right? But we knew that was the advantage Florida had. They're just so deep with what they can bring to the table. And, yeah, good win.
Like you asked the question, how was Maryland such a popular underdog pick? My question in return would that be from people that watch Florida much this year, or would that just be from people out there that was just drive-bys?
Well, I think, and you know my thought on this, I feel like I've said it multiple times, but I thought that second game would be the toughest game for Florida, just because if it was UConn, it was going to be the toughest matchup-based type game because of what UConn does and just all the other stuff that comes along with playing the defending back-to-back national champion in the second round of the tournament. But, like, I think, this is why I see this playing out now. Even with Alabama, right? They weren't a 1 seed, but even with Alabama, how many times over the years have we seen it where these top teams separate themselves after that first weekend? The first weekend is where the madness, it's where the chaos reigns supreme. But once you get out of that survive and advance sort of initial weekend, it's still survive and advance, but like it's way more, okay, now we get to go back, tweak some of these things that didn't go so well for us. We've been the best team all season, or been one of the best teams all season. And I just feel like this is where you see them get those 3-4 days of practice where they clean up some of that stuff, and then they come out and they are way more focused after a game like that. And Florida started this game off great. Maryland ended up coming back and sort of matching them a little bit. But again, eventually, I think what we've seen with the SEC team now in different ways, Florida just wore Maryland down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alabama wore BYU down mentally just by hitting bomb after bomb after bomb. And I think that's what you may see with some of these teams that continue to advance. Hopefully there are more that advance in the SEC. Is just, you just can wear these teams down because of the physical style of play. And I thought this was a great performance from Florida. Especially, remember, Condon missed however many minutes he missed too. So
one of my go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead, Max. No, you finish first. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, as a Florida fan, one of my best buddies back home is a Florida fan, like kind of like a fake, like doesn't really follow it until it gets to tournament time. But he was like, "What the heck's going on, Max?" And I was like, "Well, you turned it over 13 times. Your all SEC big just didn't play for basically the whole half with an ankle injury. That was about as bad as I've seen you play in a half, and you're winning. You're winning still." He's like, "Oh, okay, I feel great." So I just like, given those circumstances, Florida fans probably relate to that. It wasn't pretty, but I still felt you just had all those turnovers and no Condon. You're up at halftime. Had to be like, okay, I'm not that worried.
Well, like you mentioned, some teams just turn it on at this point of the tournament. Some, like the elite teams, turn it on before that, and we've seen this out of Florida before. You go back to the loss at Georgia on February 25th. Next game was March 1st. They go to A&M, win that one convincingly at a time. I think A&M was playing okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. They then go to Alabama. They lose by 5. You've seen what Alabama can do when it's playing well. And then they just throttle Ole Miss. Well, they then ripped through the conference tournament. Closest game was what, 9 points to a Tennessee team that had a ton of fans in the building. I mean, this started – this is not news to us and our audience, but – This started a while ago. I mean, it really started back in January. I think that when that demolition of Tennessee, I remember we did a show. Was it when we had Neil Blackman on? Was it right before that game, or was it a couple weeks before? I think it was right before that game.
It was 1 week before.
Yeah, and we were all kind of going, okay, this looks pretty good, but let's see what it looks like when the competition clicks up a notch. Notice got served that night, and Florida's never really departed too far from that.
No. I mean, again, outside of just the turnovers, like in this first half, I mean, that's why like I was just so impressed with the second half of the game, because we always say about them all season long, they've been a team that, I mean, they're resilient. Like we always say, like if they face some adversity, they always answer. Remember, like the games they've lost this season, we ran down what they did after those games, and like they just came out and just dominated people. And so like, again, I'm never surprised when we see them in those kind of situations where they run into a team like UConn, barely win a game maybe. They're like, oh, okay, we survived, and now, a little sloppy in the first half to say the least, but just come out and then just completely take over the game. So, yeah, I just, now they're in the Elite Eight. We'll see who they play, either Arkansas or Texas Tech. But, I mean, if you're a Florida fan, you've got to feel pretty good about things. Of course, you want to feel good about Condon's ankle too. But, I mean, yeah, you're one step away now. And I truly wonder if the toughest game was behind them with UConn. But we'll find out.
It's just occurred. They've had one bad game all season. That was the revenge match in Knoxville. And here's another thing, man. This is crazy. Like you will see teams fluctuate in performance a little bit here and there. Somebody like Auburn was just pedal to the metal 3 months, and we're like, this is unusually hard to do. And then they had that little thing at the end, the hiccups, and we know the story. I'm looking at KenPom ratings. Florida starts the season at 26. Entered tonight at 2, I think. And I'm looking only twice, I think, did Florida fall from game to game in KenPom. It was 20 going into the Florida A&M game. Won that one by 24 and then dropped one spot to 21. One other time, I think, what was it? The Tennessee game, dropped from 4 to 5. Every game this year, Florida went up in KenPom, other than a couple times, and when it lost one spot. That is unbelievable improvement in consistency.
How much do you attribute that to the depth of the roster? I'm not a... Oh, geez, who said it? Oh, I'm going to forget who said it. Sorry, guys. But someone said Florida's like Noah's Ark, where they have 2 of everything. If someone... Gosh, it's slipping my mind.
Winston Churchill, I believe. Yeah.
I did not see that coming. It's been a while since you brought out Winston.
That was perfect.
I got that one ready for a certain game tomorrow night, depending on the outcome. So don't you worry. We'll bring up Winston after a certain game tomorrow night. So
I was not expecting Winston there. Seth Greenberg. No, that's who it was. Yes, thank you, James.
Close.
Gosh,
right there.
Right there.
Not that far off, to be honest with you.
No, I think that's as good as explanations I've got. Old guards helps too. I mean, the way they work the ball around the perimeter and find the right guy with the right matchup. I mean, they're unselfish too. That's the other thing. Like, that's hard to do in the day and age of NIL, where everybody's looking for the next payday and the big scoring game. To have the chemistry and cohesion they've had is incredible.
Florida fans, who you want? Want the Hogs? Or do you want the Red Raiders? Alabama fans, who do you want? Well, it's a great question, you may ask. Big Baller Brett, $2 super chat, needs Caleb Love to do him a big favor tonight when Arizona plays Duke. I don't want that. I want Duke, Alabama. Are you kidding me? Like, we've been waiting for this. Let's just, come on. Do your thing, Duke, and let's get to it. All right? Give me Duke and Alabama. By the way, Jared says it just means more to him. Just became a new member of the channel here. We appreciate that. If you're wondering why Chris's internet's working well tonight, well, it's because R-Stu's here said, don't worry, Skylar, sent for you a free 1,000 hours of the America Online disc. So Chris is currently on that free 1,000-hour trial for America Online. So that's why his internet is working well tonight. By the way, I don't know if we've ever seen these two comments from this person. Donovan, I've got no clever comments today. Florida and Alabama just look dang impressive. And then he followed that up 5 minutes later to make sure we know it's actually him, or he may be hacked. Who knows? Tide looked good. So frame that, Alabama fans.
Wow.
Donovan just said the Tide looked good. That's how good Alabama looked. If you're getting that from Donovan, you've had a game. And yes, Nate Oates did say he's ready for Duke. So you better believe if Arizona beats Duke tonight, the bulletin board material is there. So, all right. Yeah. Big Baller Brett. Of course I want Duke to win because I hate the Tide. Oh, Chris is pulling up something while I'm...
Sorry,
Go ahead, Chris.
Holly gave me a laugh. Carry on.
There you go. Yeah. So, all right. Josh brought up a good comment earlier. Trending towards what it's been all year. The top 4 SEC teams in Duke and Houston.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been that way for how long now? Like, and we'll see if that's what it winds up being. But with Florida and Alabama advancing, you got two teams one step closer. So,
Yeah, I think it's going to – I'd be surprised now if you just – that the upsets are going to become fewer and fewer. We're probably going to still get – we're still going to get some. I mean, not every favorite's going to win. That's ridiculous, but I think it's a chalky year.
$5 from Josh here. I think Florida wants Texas Tech. Texas Tech doesn't play great defense, and a poor man's Alabama to him, who Florida owns. So, Josh's thoughts weighing in. The calm before the storm for people like Josh, Tennessee fans, Kentucky fans out there in the chat. Whew, tomorrow night, the action heats up when it comes to the SEC on SEC matchup. So, hope you guys enjoyed the picks we had. I'm sure you all were in agreement. What are you laughing at?
Alex's comments.
Alex's comment. There you go. Yeah. Alex says that Alabama just hit another 3 from the drive-through at Whataburger. So, it's true.
Foot was on the line. Went back to review it.
Yeah. It's actually only a 2. So.
Can you do they hit tonight?
Jeez. A lot. Can you draw a conclusion from a game after 5 minutes have been played?
Can I have your conclusion, please?
Arizona's up by 3.
So you're all in on the Wildcats. You think they're going to beat Duke?
Oh, well, I mean, they're on pace. They're on pace
for how many did you say they were up?
They're up by 5. I mean, they're on pace for a 20-point win.
Yeah, that's true. 5 in the first 5 minutes, yeah. They're on pace for a 40-point victory, I guess, over Duke.
I'm just following the mathematics, guys.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Make that 5.
We'll see what happens. But, all right. Well, here's what we're going to do. So, let's see. I think we've got everything from the chat. Yep, we're just going to clean up some of the chats here. All right, so as we know, tomorrow night's big night of action. But we know tonight we still got the Hogs and the Red Raiders about to tip off here. Yes. And so we are going to get to that game so we can watch it. And perhaps whether we do a show tonight will depend on how this game goes. So we'll let you know. How about that?
Yep.
Yeah. Depending on how this game goes, we may be back later tonight. We may be back tomorrow morning to let you know about this game tonight. So just keep that in mind. Max is an hour ahead. So we try to be good with the schedules, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out tonight with Arkansas and Texas Tech. Skylar's already saying, you know what? Calling it right now. You're not going to be back tonight. Oh, that's a challenge. Ooh. Okay, that's it. We're not just going to stream tonight. We're going to stream for 5 hours until tomorrow morning. So, marathon. Max looks thrilled with that idea.
I bring out the evening coffee today. Haven't done that in a while.
Okay. Well, then you're ready.
I'm ready to go. Yep.
Look, I mean, listen, if Texas Tech wins this game, going away or something, I don't think there's a lot of people who are going to want to chat tonight. There will be, but it may not be what they want to chat about.
Not our people.
So, yeah, we may just make a decision based off of that. So, yeah. Anyways. All right. There's the plan. Florida's marching on. Alabama's marching on. SEC's going to have 3 in the Elite 8. Will it be 4? Will it be 5? Will it be 6? Will it be 7? Will it be 8? I can answer the last one. It won't be 8. But I guess it can only be, 6 at the most? Is that right? My math right?
Okay.
7?
Here we go. Right before we leave.
No, it can be 7 because, no.
Yeah.
Wait. No, it can be 6 because Tennessee and Kentucky play each other.
It can be 6. Yeah. If you had to, so we already have 2, guaranteed 3. So then it's down to Auburn and Ole Miss.
You got to get at least
Can we tie the record? Or can we break the record and get 5 in? If you had to put an odds on the SEC breaking the Elite 8 record with 5 teams, what would you set that line at? Chat, you can get involved too here. We've already got 3 guaranteed. It comes down to Auburn beating Michigan to get 4, Ole Miss upsetting Michigan State, or Arkansas upsetting Texas Tech to break the record.
So you have to go perfect.
Nope, you have to go.
No, you just have to get 5.
You have to secure Auburn over Michigan and then grab one of the upsets.
You mean to tie or break the record?
Auburn ties it.
Let's say if you're moving seeding wise, okay, and we're advancing the top seed in Auburn, that gives you 4.
Yeah.
Then, so how do you set that? Looking at it from an odds standpoint, Ole Miss, Arkansas, which Ole Miss has the better odds chance, right? What's that number now? That number's wild.
Ole Miss. So basically, what it is to dumb it down, to break the record, if Auburn does take care of business as a 9.5 point favorite, then we would just need Arkansas or Ole Miss to pull the upset. Ole Miss is plus 3.5. Arkansas is plus 5.5.
Yeah.
One of those teams pull the upset. The SEC breaks the record.
You also got to have Auburn beat Michigan. So we'll see. You know, I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to always say the under. Okay, always give me. I'm going to go 3 or 4 because I don't want to get too optimistic here. You know.
I would put it at even line.
All right.
What's pessimistic rattlesnake think?
Well, the rattlesnake here weighed in with $10. Very optimistic tonight. So proud of the Florida Gators. The Elite Eight always been the hardest part historically for the Gators. Just proud to have a chance to hang another banner. Yep, another banner's going up for the Florida Gators. So we'll see who they get. You know who we're rooting for in the matchup. So. Yeah.
Last Final Four for Florida was when?
The chat.
Is that Billy Donovan?
That would be, well, their last Elite Eight was in 2017.
South Carolina.
That was a Mike White team.
That was the Canyon Barry, Devin Robinson, Chris Chioza, Casey Hill. But then the last Final Four was 14. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Scotty Wilbekin.
Man. That's a name I hadn't thought about in a while.
Time to go call the Hogs.
Yeah, that was Billy Donovan. Feels like he's been gone longer than a decade.
Yeah.
Which I guess he has since he left in after 2015? Yeah. So right at it.
Yeah.
Anyway, are we talked out?
Yep.
Hog time.
Hog time indeed. We will be here to talk about that one. That one's now underway. As we said, either late tonight or tomorrow morning. Either way, hit the subscribe button and enable your notifications so you know when we do it. Congratulations to Alabama and Florida for advancing to the Elite Eight. For Blake Lovell, Max Barr, I'm Chris Lee of Southeastern 16. God bless you. Good night. We'll see you again soon.